To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
So my dear children, after a long journey, now we have come to the final chapter, right, regarding the lesson Biosphere. So within this final chapter, my dear children, we'll be focusing about the last and the final way of environmental management and the sustainable development, my dear children. Here we are going to discuss about the energy management. So you know that energy is very important to do our day-to-day works, right? To do our day-to-day works efficiently, and in order to get an ability of doing works, energy is very important. So energy, my dear children, should be managed well. Otherwise, we'll be, if you destroy, or actually we won't be able to destroy if you consume, or else if you waste energy, right? If you waste energy, then we won't be able to go for a sustainable development if you waste energy too much. So therefore, it's important to use energy and sources of energy economically and sustainably in order to be environment friendly, and in order to manage our environment, it's very important to use energy sources very economically. Okay, so let's head on to see what are the contents given now. Consumer is provided with an opportunity to utilize energy with the aim of conservation of energy and minimization of cost. So consumer means the ones who are going to consume these energy sources, my dear children. So consumer is provided with an opportunity to utilize energy with the aim of conservation of energy and minimization of cost. So with minimum cost, and my dear children, we have to get energy, for our usage. The thing is at a minimum cost. Okay, this is how usually we use or we utilize our energy within our environment. Now, the main energy source that can be observed, or main energy that we utilize in our day-to-day and household activities, is the electricity. So you know that this electricity is getting measured, and also electricity is being provided for us by the government. So they charge a certain amount for the electricity, and this is what do you mean by the energy transformation. Okay, energy auditing. Actually, this is what do you mean by energy auditing. We'll be learning about these things when you go further with the lesson, right? So they provide us with energy, and they measure the energy, and they are billing us. Energy is being audited here then, right? So here it is given: planning and monitoring of energy production and consumption is required for the sustainable utilization and then fulfill the needs of the consumer. This process is referred to as energy management. So like I said, energy should be transformed from one form to another. Now, usually when electricity is being produced, we use the energy in flowing water, or energy in sun, or energy in blowing wind in order to generate electricity. Okay, in order to generate electricity. So here, my dear children, one form of energy is getting converted to other form. So during the production of energy, energy should be audited and energy should be measured, and we should definitely or the consumer should definitely be billed. Okay, it's because otherwise consumer do not have the responsibility in conserving energy. So the process of monitoring and production of energy, and also monitoring the consumption of energy is required for the sustainable development. So this process of production, consumption, and sustainable utilization of energy to meet the necessity of consumer is referred to as the energy management. This is the one which is referred as energy management then. Okay, right. Energy crisis and technological issues. So, energy crisis. What do you mean by the energy crisis, my dear children? It's quite simple. Energy crisis means that energy which is getting produced within a certain country, okay, if it is not enough to fulfill the needs of the people who are living in it, and then in that particular country, right, we can observe the energy crisis. In simple, my dear children, if necessary energy is not getting produced according to the needful amount, such a condition is referred as an energy crisis. Okay, this is called as an energy crisis. So here, the drastic increase of price of economically important energy resources due to their constricted supply is referred to as energy crisis. So drastic increase of price of economically important energy sources. Here the price of the economically important energy sources is going to increase. Okay, drastic increase, that means gradual increase. So because of the gradual increase of energy sources, what will happen? What will happen here is their price is going to increase, and economically important energy sources are now going to be much expensive. Because of that, what will happen? People will not have the ability to get these energy sources according to their necessary amounts. It's mainly happening because of the constricted supply of energy, my dear children. That means less amount of energy is supplied. However, there is a high demand. Because of that, energy is sold at higher rates so that the people will not have the ability to buy. This kind of a condition is referred to as an energy crisis. Okay, right. Fuel oil crisis, electricity crisis, and dearth of energy resources also indicate this problem. Energy crisis occurs as a result of the great demand for the supply of limited natural energy sources. So like I said, there are different crises. Now, when you take fuel, especially petroleum fuel, my dear children, now you know that within like 100 years, within time period of 100 years, definitely petroleum fuel is going to eradicate from our planet Earth because of the immense use of the petroleum fuel. So therefore, what will happen, my dear children? One day we won't be able to observe this petroleum fuel. Okay, so petroleum fuel now facing a crisis, because petroleum fuel is going to, right, we need petroleum fuel, right, because mainly we operate our machines and our vehicle engines by using petroleum fuel. So if there is no enough petroleum fuel, then these machines and vehicles should thrown away. But my dear children, at the rate of this mining, we won't be able to use this petroleum fuel, right, for a longer time period. Within like 100 years of time, the petroleum fuel will disappear from the planet Earth. So it's very important to use petroleum fuel economically. But however, with the drastic increase of the population, with the vehicles that these people use, and with the machines that the people are going to use, right, the usage of fossil fuel or petroleum fuel has got increased dramatically within the environment or within our society. Therefore, there is a certain crisis going around with the fuel, or else petroleum fuel. The price of the petroleum fuel is keep getting increased year by year because of the limited supply. Okay, the same process can be observed within the electricity as well, because electricity is mainly getting produced by using different kinds of energy sources. mainly in Sri Lanka, mainly by fossil fuel. So therefore, right, there is a certain risk, right, in getting electricity too. Okay, it's because now you know that fossil fuel within recent years price has shifted up. So therefore, we have to increase our electricity bills in order to tally up with the fossil fuel price. Otherwise, we won't be able to. Uh, Otherwise, we won't be able to manage the cost and the cost and expenditures which is given now to produce electricity. Okay, so therefore, my dear children, with the increasement of fuel prices, definitely the electricity prices is going to increase if a certain country is using fossil fuel mainly to produce electricity. Okay, so energy crisis, with the energy crisis, electricity crisis, fossil fuel crisis, both can be observed, right? So these things mainly occur because of the limited supply, but because of the greater demand. There is a greater demand, but there is a limited supply. That is why the crisis conditions are going to happen mainly. Okay, right then. So this is what do you mean by energy crisis, my dear children, right? Energy crisis in the simple sense is limited supply of energy for the higher demand, right? So therefore, price of the energy is going to increase. Unit value of or unit price of a certain energy is going to increase day by day with the high demand. Okay, right. So reasons for the energy crisis, different reasons for the energy crisis given in here. Drastic growth of human population. Number one is the drastic growth of human population. So like I said, my dear children, when increasing the number of population day by day, definitely what will happen, the demand for the electricity and demand for the other energy sources will also going to increase. So therefore what will happen, therefore my dear children, definitely the energy crisis will increase for sure. Next one, increase of the number of industries. Increase of the number of industries, number two. So with the increase of the population, definitely the industries count are also going to increase. Okay, number of industries are also going to increase. So therefore, with the increase of number of industries, definitely the energy crisis is also going to increase, right? Next one, overconsumption of energy. Like I said, wastage, overconsumption, that is also main reason for energy crisis. Next one, energy wastage. Okay, we have discussed that thing, right? Next one, non-investigation of renewable energy sources. Now, this is a terrible problem now. Always, my dear children, we are tending to find out easy methods. That's a terrible case among the people who are living in this planet Earth. Always we are tending to find out easier methods. Using fossil fuel is very easy. We can combust, generate heat energy, then generate steam, and by that it rotate in turbines, and we can get heat energy. Then we can get electricity. No, really simple, right? But the thing is, fossil fuel is, my dear children, now at the moment fossil fuel is expensive. They should have to be expensive, no, because the thing is, fossil fuel is a limited resource, so it's going to be expensive from day to day, right? From a day to another day, definitely it's going to be expensive, right? Because it is a limited resource, it is a limited supply, it has a limited supply. Then, my dear children, best thing to do is go for a renewable energy source. Why we are depending on fossil fuel that much? If they are getting expensive, right? If they are getting expensive from one day to another day, what is the point of depending on those things? If they are getting expensive from day by day, why don't we find out any other renewable energy sources? Actually, when you take the country Sri Lanka, there are plenty of renewable energy sources. If you take Sri Lanka is a tropical country. Tropical country means we receive solar energy like like when you take a certain year, for a greater extent, for a longer time period, we receive plenty of sunlight. So solar power can be used to generate electricity. Okay, rather than using fossil fuel, solar power is a great option. And for some places there are wind, right? There is wind. So for some places, okay, so wind power plants is also a good option for some places. Then, my dear children, all around the country there are sea waves. So these tidal waves and sea waves we can utilize to generate electricity, right? So therefore, my dear children, these renewable, not finding out renewable energy sources and depending on the all the same type of boring kind of things, okay, that is also has caused the energy crisis. That is also has caused the energy crisis. So always we should look for renewable energy sources, not for the non-renewable energy sources, because non-renewable energy sources are going to destroy in a certain day, so therefore their values are going to increase day by day. However, if you use renewable energy sources, then my dear children, definitely with a lower cost we can provide electricity for the consumer, right? Next one, war activities. Now, my dear children, the next one, war activities. So because of different war activities, the price of especially the petroleum fuel can rise up, okay, because this petroleum fuel is available only in limited areas. So if there are war zones within these limited areas, definitely the local price of the not only the local price but the world price markets are going to rise up because of these war activities, okay. Next one, political problems. If there are several political downfalls within a certain country, right, then those cases will also increase the energy crisis, my dear children, okay. Next one, technical problems arise during the management of available energy. Technology for extraction of energy sources, methodology of purifying energy resources are some of them. So technical problems can arise, my dear children. That means sometimes when you take a certain power plant, some certain power plant may temporarily shut down. Sometimes due to a technical error or due to a some system error, these power plants may shut down. So therefore what will happen? Therefore, and the needful energy will not be produced by a certain country. Then in that case, my dear children, the country may have to go for a electricity cut. So in that case, energy crisis is going to the energy crisis is going to be increased, okay. So like that way there can be several facts, okay. So technology of extraction of energy resources, then we have in some countries, my dear children, they have energy sources but they don't have the enough technology to extract them, okay. So they don't have the enough technology or money or any other resources to extract them. So that is also going to be a problem, no. So those cases are also going to increase the energy crisis. Then methodology of purifying energy resources are some of them. So methodologies, there are certain techniques and methodologies. If the people who are living in that particular country do not have the idea to use that methods or to use that technologies, then that is also going to be a problem in these cases, right. Less technological development and less knowledge of expertise, right, is also going to create energy crisis in a certain country, right. So these are the reasons for the energy crisis then, okay, right. Then you are given with an assignment. List out the step you fail to utilize energy with minimum wastage? So you have to list out the steps you fail to utilize energy with minimum wastage. So what are the things which you can follow to utilize energy with minimum wastage? So I'm going to tell you several things, my dear children. By following out these steps, we can minimize the, we can minimize the, more often we use electricity as our main energy source in our houses, no? So we can minimize we can minimize the electricity consumption, or we can minimize the electrical energy, wastage of electrical energy by following out these steps. Okay, number one, when you are ironing clothes, it's much better to iron clothes all at one time, because when the iron is turned on and off, uh, at different time intervals, from starting from zero, it should have to heat up to a certain temperature, so it will take much longer time and much energy. So therefore it's much better to iron all clothes all at one time. Step number one, then, ironing clothes all at one time, my dear children. Okay, by doing that you can save pretty much of electrical energy, right? Then number two, you know that usually we use electric motors to pump water to our houses from wells. So in that case, my dear children, what we are going to do is we are going to turn on the electric pump and we are going to do our work. Then what will happen? When time is going to pass by, eventually the tank will fill up and water will come out. Water is also getting wasted, electricity also getting wasted. Okay, so when you are using water pump, it's very important to stay at the place where the switch is. Then as soon as it is going to overflow, it's very important to turn off the motor, right? Then by that way, my dear children, we can save plenty of electricity, and also not electricity but water too, right? Then next one. So I think already you have seen these things. Now even in the streets also, my dear children, because of this incident, more often we use sensors, right? So street lamps, if you take street lamps, I think you have observed that some streets, there are some street lamps, these street lamps are even going to operate during the daytime period as well. Okay, people are not going to turn off those things, right, as they do not think that they are responsibility. However, it's our responsibility. We are the ones who are going to pay for those things as well, right? So each and every person has the responsibility to turn off these things, street lamps especially if they are running on the daytime period. So therefore it's quite important to turn off these things, right, during the daytime period if there are any ones which are getting operated, right? So by that way, my dear children, we can save electricity. So like that way, there are different kinds of things which we can follow in order to minimize the electricity consumption, right? So you can list out different things here. So I have mentioned just three, right? So it's your responsibility to follow out these things. I think you can just think and write down these things, right? It's very simple. So my dear children, like that way, there are different other steps which we can follow to minimize the energy consumption, right? Here minimizing means here we are going to minimize the wastage of energy, especially electricity. Okay, so like that way you can find out different steps and you can list out within this assignment. So I have mentioned you three. Okay, right. So we'll head on to see the next one then. Monitoring daily energy consumption. It is necessary to be aware and compare the energy consumption by measuring it daily. Then wastage can be minimized. So you know that our there is a electricity meter in our household. So in our each and every household. So this electricity meter is being utilized to monitor the electricity. Why it is important to monitor electricity, my dear children? Because otherwise we will use these things without any limit. Okay, without any limit, we will use these things. So therefore it's important to monitor the electricity. Okay, especially here we are discussing about electricity, my dear children, right? So monitoring of electricity is very important in here. Okay, otherwise there won't be any limit of usage. Next one given, energy auditing. The purpose of monitoring is to visit different institutions and make recommendations and advice based on the results of the respective energy audits and make the authorities aware related to the energy consumption. So the purpose of monitoring is to visit different institutions and make recommendations and advised based on results of the respective energy audits and make the authorities aware related to the energy consumption. So why do we need to measure this energy? Measuring is very important, my dear children. Why is that? By that way, the certain authority can get an idea about the energy requirement for a certain household, the average energy requirement in a certain house. Then by that way, for a certain country, they can get the idea of how much energy is required. So by that way, for the institutions, for the certain authorities, that can get certain ideas about the energy consumption, energy usage, and my dear children, especially they can get new ideas and they can get different kinds of other they can get different kinds of other ideas about the different kinds of energy sources, right, in order to provide a good and a valuable service, right? So especially this monitoring purpose is beneficial for the institutions and for the certain institutions and authorities, okay, for the betterment of the consumer. Then next one given here, in this context, making public enthusiastic on reduction of energy consumption and improving energy efficiency are ensured. So by doing these things, my dear children, people are encouraged, right? People are encouraged for the public enthusiastic on the reduction of energy. That means sometimes, my dear children, now you know that the Ceylon Electricity Board, right, CEB, they are mentioning that if the household electricity consumption is less than 90 units, then you can reduce like this much of from your bill. So our people mostly they try to reduce their electricity consumption less than 90 units, right? It's mainly because, my dear children, over there these guys also having, or these people, these individuals also get a certain idea, get a certain responsibility in minimizing electricity usage and also minimizing the wastage. So therefore monitoring of these energy sources is very important for the minimization of wastage too. Okay, right. Then my dear children, energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is defined as utilization of minimum quantity of energy for a particular service through effective management of energy consumption. So energy efficiency is defined as the utilization of minimum quantity of energy for a particular service through effective management of energy consumption. So here energy efficiency means, in simple, by effective, right, by effective management of energy consumption, we are going to use energy, right, or we are going to utilize energy by or using a minimum quantity. Okay, within a minimum quantity, we're going to use energy within a minimum quantity, right? It is possible to improve energy management and control through energy efficiency. It is also enables to provide an enhanced service by utilizing minimum energy. However, this does not mean that a service is withheld or controlled. So It is possible to improve energy management and control through energy efficiency. By energy efficiency, my dear children, we are going to control the wastage of energy and we are going to manage the energy sources quite well. However, my dear children, it is not talking about withholding or else controlling, right? It's not talking about withholding or controlling. Here they are talking about to provide in service in an enhanced way. Okay, here we are providing the service for the consumer in an enhanced way, in a better way, right? By doing the energy by following energy efficiency procedures. Okay, so you are given with an assignment then. Investigate the electrical appliances at your home and record their wattages, the power. Hence, compare their level of energy consumption. So, if you take a rice cooker, okay, rice cooker, it is around 800 watt. So, I'll mention as 800 watt. Then a heater, like 1.2 kilowatt. Okay, then LED bulb, like 15 watt maximum. So if you compare these values, my dear children, as you can see, higher the power, higher the amount of watt value. That means more amount of electrical energy is being utilized. If this particular item, the heater, is going to work for a 1 hour, then 1.2 kilowatt hour, that means greater than 1 unit has been used. So therefore, higher the wattage, higher the watt value of electrical equipments, higher the electricity consumption. You already know these things, right? So it's very important in our houses to use proper electrical equipments with less watt values. Okay, it's very important to use proper electrical equipments with less watt values. For a certain example, let's imagine that there are only 3 people who is living within a house: son, mother and father. If so, then it is useless to buy, right? Very useless to buy, right? A heavy refrigerator. Why it is useless? Because, my dear children, a heavy refrigerator means large amount of electricity. As there are only 3 people, we can use like a smaller refrigerator, because over there those guys are not going to store large amount or large volumes of food items within the refrigerator, no. So therefore we can use like smaller one, or that particular family can use a smaller refrigerator. And you also know that there are different technologies which has been developed in recent years, like the inverter technologies. If you use inverter technologies, then my dear children, especially in refrigerators, then my dear children, you know that electrical consumption is also going to be reduced. So by that way we can follow out different methods in order to reduce the electricity consumption, right? Especially there are different kinds of technologies, right? And also proper equipment should be used at our houses according to our need. By that way we can minimize the electricity consumption. Okay, right. Then sustainable energy use. So sustainable energy use, let's see. In sustainable use, maintenance of a certain aspect at a desired status level is expected. Due to technical reasons, utilization of most renewable energy sources still remains at a lower level. So, because of several technical reasons, my dear children, there are still, right, experiments undergoing, because now there are some certain technical reasons, right? Because there are several technical reasons, in which we can't utilize these things, okay, especially renewable energy sources, right? So therefore, my dear children, in here, the sustainable energy use. Sometimes, my dear children, sustainable energy use will not be, or it is not, right? It is not going to be a probable one for some certain countries, mainly because of technical reasons, okay? So sustainable use means actually here we are maintaining a certain aspect at a desired status or a level, right? Yeah, maintaining a certain aspect or up to a certain desired level, right? Then here it is given once again. So utilization of most renewable energy sources still remains at a lower level due to technical reasons, right? So because of technical reasons mainly, utilization of different renewable energy sources are still in a very lower level, right? So example given: solar energy, wind energy, biomass. So you know that even though Sri Lanka receives these three items very well, because of several technical reasons, right, we are not utilizing these things at a greater extent. Main reason is technical reasons, my dear children, okay? Right. Importance of utilizing natural energy architecture. Natural energy architecture, that means natural energy sources. The importance of using natural energy sources. Let's see. In constructing a house, some steps need to be taken in order to maintain good indoor air circulation. When natural sunlight incidents upon the surfaces, the temperature of indoor environment increases. So it's quite simple, right? So we have to follow different procedures in making our houses, especially when sunlight is going to hit on a certain surface, right? The temperature of that particular surface is definitely going to increase, right? Hence, it is not desirable to place fenestrations or else windows on east and west walls of the house, especially since heat transfer from the western side is high. It is not done. So, as it is given in here, you can clearly identify, my dear children, because of this incident, it's not probable to place windows on east and west walls of the house, because you know that the movement of the sun usually happening from east to west, okay? Actually, that's not the opposite case is going to happen, but however, we feel the apparent one is like that, no, that how we feel, no, right? So motion of the sun is from east to west, okay? So because of that, if you place windows on east and west walls, then what will happen? More amount of heat energy will come into your house, and because of that, the inside temperature will get increased. By placing windows on north and south directions, good air circulation and natural cooling can be maintained within the house. Then, my dear children, it's better to place windows at north and south directions, because from north and south directions good ventilation would come to the house, and also the light energy received, or the light and heat or solar energy received, is also going to be less. So we can maintain an optimum temperature within the house by maintaining a good ventilation too, okay? Next one given: electrical energy consumption for air conditioning can be minimized to get a great extent by means of natural ventilation. So need for an air conditioner, right, can be minimized by following out this process, my dear children, right? Otherwise, if it is too much hot, we have to use an air conditioner, no. But however, if the house is built up like this, then we can minimize the usage of air conditioners if there are uh, if there is, okay? Or else air conditioners are not actually needed, right? Air conditioners are not actually needed if the house is built according to this phenomena. Okay. Daylight harvesting can be utilized for reducing the electrical energy consumption due to artificial lighting. So daylight also can be utilized sometimes, my dear children. Now in some houses, when you go to a certain room, that rooms are going to be very dark. So in daytime also we have to turn on switches. However, if you can place window openings, or else sometimes I think you have observed in roofs there are uh, glass layers and uh, glass plates are applied on the roofs in order to get the natural light. So by that way, during daytime, my dear children, we can light up our houses without any trouble. So that means the consumption of energy is also going to be reduced. Okay, right then. Then this enables a sustainable reduction of operational cost of a building. Using thick curtains can also lead to reduction of heat transfer in air conditioned spaces. So like we discussed earlier, by using those kinds of things, by using those kinds of steps, my dear children, we can minimize, okay, we can minimize the usage of what? Different operational costs. Okay, and also using thick curtains can also lead to reduction of heat transfer in air conditioned spaces. So if you can use thick curtains, then we can reduce the heat transfer in air conditioned spaces. Okay, next one. This is considerably reduces the energy consumption for air conditioning. Rainwater harvesting can be applied as an energy conservation measure. So as an energy conservation measure, we can also collect rainwater, right? So here we can use rainwater and we can utilize these things in different places, especially in our agriculture purposes, my dear children. And therefore, the collection of rainwater can also utilize to minimize the usage of energy. Okay. In boiler systems, exhaust gases discharged through the chimney stack contain high temperature waste heat, which can be extracted to heat boiler feed water and as an air preheater with utilization of eco-friendly natural energy sources. It is possible to minimize the adverse effect on the environment. So here once again it is given, let's see. In boiler systems, exhaust gases discharged through the chimney stack contain high temperature waste heat, which can be extracted to heat boiler feed water and as an air preheater with the utilization of eco-friendly natural energy sources. So it is possible to minimize the adverse effects on the environment. So sometimes, my dear children, the exhaust gases which is getting discharged by the chimney stack, right? It will contain high temperature. So this waste heat which is getting wasted over here can be utilized to do what? To heat the boiler feed water, right? And as well as air preheater. Okay, so you know that this heat is getting extracted this heat is getting extracted to the environment without getting utilized, no? So within these cases we can utilize this heat energy. Okay, so it is given here, with the utilization of eco-friendly natural energy sources, it is possible to minimize the adverse effects on the environment. So like this way, if we can use different natural energy sources in order to do our day-to-day works, my dear children, definitely we can minimize the wastage of energy. Okay, right then. Importance, the final importance of utilizing natural energy architecture, my dear children, you are given with the final points. Different conventions, legislations, and acts are in the function, at international and national level for the management and sustainable use of environment. Several examples of international conventions are given below. So there are different legislations and conventions followed out by different kinds of unions and different kinds of federations in order to follow out different laws, my dear children. So these laws would also highlight, okay, these laws would also highlight the necessity, okay, the necessity of you minimizing, or the importance of minimizing different products which is getting expelled to the environment, and also these things helps in energy management too. So let's see what are those examples. Number one given, Montreal Protocol to control the gases which harm the ozone layer. So like I said, it's a protocol called Montreal Protocol. So if a country is following this Montreal Protocol, then my dear children, in that country, the harmful gases that is going to harm the ozone layer, right? These gases are being minimized. Okay. Then next one given, Kyoto Protocol to minimize the emission of greenhouse gases. So another protocol, Kyoto Protocol, is being used to minimize the greenhouse gases. Like that way, there are certain legislations and certain laws and protocols are being followed to minimize the emission of greenhouse gases and to minimize the gases which is going to harm the ozone layer. Like examples, Kyoto Protocol and Montreal Protocol. Okay, right then. So my dear children, state institutions under the Ministry of Environment, Central Environment Authority, Marine Environment Protection Authority, then Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, State Timber Corporation, National Gem and Jewelry Authority, implement law, rules and regulations related to environmental management. So these are the institutions and special authorities that is going to uphold several laws and legislations related to the environmental management, right? Let's see what are those things. State institutions. So these are state institutions, okay, under the Ministry of Environment. So these things are under the Ministry of Environment, okay, and Central Environmental Authority, Central Environmental Authority, then Marine Environment Protection Authority, Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, State Timber Corporation, National Gem and Jewelry Authority. So these authorities are going to implement different kinds of laws and legislations and rules, my dear children, in order to manage the environment properly, right? So these are several institutions and several several boards, several institutions, right, and several ministries that helps in environmental management. So finally, you are given with an assignment, prepare a booklet on renewable energy sources. I think starting from grade 7, my dear children, we have studied several things regarding the renewable energy sources. Renewable energy sources are the energy sources which are not getting destroyed within a shorter time period, right? That means these energy sources are long lasting. Till the earth is going to last, these energy sources are also going to last, okay? So that is why these things are referred to as renewable energy sources. So what you have to do is you have to prepare a booklet regarding these energy sources, okay, right then. So with that one, my dear children, we have come to the end of our lesson. After a very long journey, like about 20 hours, we have came to the end of our lesson, my dear children. Now it's time to discuss the summary. So let's see the summary. There is a natural balance among the living organisms, physical components, and the environmental conditions in the biosphere. This balanced relationship is known as the environmental equilibrium. So we discussed about the environmental equilibrium first. So there is a balanced situation in the environment and the components living in the environment. So this balanced state is called as the environmental equilibrium. Next one given, the increase in human population and their activities cause breakdown of ecological balance. So increase in human population and also, my dear children, their activities cause the breakdown of ecological balance. So we discussed that the breakdown of ecological balance is going to happen because of different cases. Then next one given, the simple organizational level, that is individual organized to form population, community, ecosystem, and finally forms the biosphere. So this is the organizational levels of the biosphere, starting from the individual, then population, community, ecosystem, then finally the biosphere, right? So we have discussed about these things in detail within the lesson part. Then the flow of energy and natural minerals, right, among organisms is essential to maintain the ecological balance. So we discuss these things under the food chains and food webs, my dear children. Flow of energy from one link to another, for flow of minerals and food items from one link to another, right? The flow of energy and nutrient among organisms occur through food chains and food webs and biogeochemical cycles. Once again, the flow of particles from one to another happens mainly from food chains, food webs, and biogeochemical cycles. Environmental pollution is the breakdown of ecological balance due to the waste materials released to the environment by man. So because of the action of human beings, different kinds of environment pollutants are getting added to the environment. Because of that, environment is getting polluted, and also, my dear children, ecological balance is also getting destroyed. Next one, agrochemicals, industrialized waste, greenhouse gases, heavy metals, particulate matter, food additives, cleaning agents, medicine, detergents, and perfumes are the main causative agents of environment pollution. Man is experiencing direct and indirect effects of environment pollution at present. So there are different kinds of environmental pollutants, right? So all of these environment pollutants are going to create direct and indirect influences on the man. So at present, man is facing those influences, my dear children, because of the environment pollution. Usage of indigenous knowledge and technology, indigenous medicine, waste management, and energy management are some of the effective ways for sustainable development. So for the sustainable development, we can use different ways, my dear children. Finally, we discussed about how to get the sustainable development by following out those ways like energy management, waste management, following traditional knowledge and indigenous knowledge. Okay, right? So those are the things which we have learned within this lesson part, my dear children. Now let's focus on the questions given in your textbook. Right, so the first type of question here, you need to underline the correct answer. Let's see. What is the organizational level which includes abiotic component in the biosphere? Abiotic means, my dear children, abiotic means non-living. So let's see. Individual, population, community, ecosystem. So individual, living, population, once again living, community, several living components, ecosystem, over there we can observe non-living things, right? So the organizational level which includes the abiotic component is the ecosystem. Select the answer with all descriptions about the population. Species name, living period. Species name, location. Living period, location. Species name, living period, location. All three are important. Next one. Which of the following is not a causative gas for acid rain? Nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur trioxide. Nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide. All of these things are correct, right? HNO3, H2SO4, H2SO4. Then carbon dioxide should be the answer. Carbon dioxide. So my dear children, the next question. Here it is given the main gas which causes the greenhouse effect. So carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbon, methane, oxides of nitrogen. Methane, carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbon, all of these things will create the greenhouse effect. But however, the most important or the main gas which causes the greenhouse effect is CFC or chlorofluorocarbon. Right. The bacteria which involves in fixation of atmospheric nitrogen as ammonium is very simple, my dear children. Rhizobium, right? Rhizobium is the answer. Then you have to write down the correct answers for the questions given here. There are many ecosystems found in the biosphere. Name two relationships present in an ecosystem. Two relationships present in an ecosystem. Very simple, my dear children. Relationship between living organisms. Relationship between living and non-living things. Okay. So, number one. Relationship between living organisms, right? So relationship between living organisms. Example, tiger eating a rabbit. So rabbit is also a living thing, tiger is also a living thing. So tiger eating a rabbit is a living relationship, my dear children, right? Next one. Living, non-living, right? Living, non-living relationship. Living, non-living relationship. Example, animals living in caves. Right? So living, non-living relationship. Example, animals living in caves. So cave is a non-living thing. However, animals are interacting in caves. So it is a living, non-living relationship. Right. Name two biological communities identified in a pond ecosystem. Biological communities. Very simple, my dear children. Within a pond ecosystem, you can observe aquatic plants. Aquatic plants like hydrilla, lotus, then moss, and so on. Right? Number two, aquatic animals. Aquatic animals. Example, fish, then algae, right. Name two causes for the breakdown of ecological balance. Two causes for the breakdown of ecological balance. So ecological balance can break down because of many reasons, right? One better reason is large number of deaths in a population. So if you take a population, certain population, suddenly due to a certain reason, large number of deaths can occur. Okay, a plague would come and large number of deaths can occur. So it will terribly interfere with the ecological balance. Okay. Number two, natural disasters. Example, floods, droughts, right? So large number of deaths in a population can create breakdown of the ecological balance. Then natural disasters like floods, droughts, volcanic eruptions, meteoroid hits, this will also create or else this will also break the ecological balance. Right. What is the main method of fixing carbon in an ecosystem? Very simple, my dear children. The main method of carbon fixation is photosynthesis. The flora in Sinharaja forest are naturally well grown than the crops in an agricultural land. Justify this statement. So, plants in Sinharaja forest, okay, is developed very well, or else they are grown very well when compared to the other places, like especially in industrial lands or else agricultural lands. What is the reason? Reason, my dear children, when you take Sinhraj forest, the substances are getting naturally recycled over there, so the soil is very fertile. However, in an agricultural land, substances are not getting naturally recycled, and because of addition of different kinds of chemicals and other substances, the fertility of the soil has been reduced. So therefore, in Singharaja forest, flora will grow excessively than in an agricultural land. Okay, so we'll write the answer. In Singharaja forest, flora are well grown. Flora are well grown because soil is fertile due to natural recycle process of materials. So in Singharaja forest, flora are well grown because soil is fertile due to natural recycle process of materials. But in agricultural land, but in agricultural land, due to adding take the slide somewhat up, different chemicals soil has got infertile. Soil has got infertile. Therefore, plants will not grow. Plants will not grow like Singharaja area. Right. So in Singharaja forest, flora are well grown because soil is fertile due to natural recycle process of materials. But in agricultural land, due to adding different chemicals, right? Different chemicals, soil has got infertile. Therefore, plants will not grow like Singharaja area. Okay, as you know that within the Singharaja forest, my dear children, materials are getting naturally recycled, right? So therefore, soil is much fertile than the agricultural regions. Right. Name 2 applications in sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture using organic fertilizer, right? A sustainable use. Organic fertilizer. Using organic fertilizer. Number 2, using biopesticides. Using biopesticides is also a good practice, a sustainable practice of agriculture, right? Using biopesticides. Here we are going to use a biological being to destroy another pest. Okay. Next one. Mention 2 fields where indigenous knowledge and technology can be applied. So, in medication we can apply, my dear children, right? In medical field we can apply. In medical science. Then, my dear children, number 2, we can apply this indigenous knowledge about technology in irrigation systems. And also in agriculture, especially in agriculture, right? In irrigation systems, in agriculture, and in medication, or else in medical science, we can apply the indigenous knowledge. Right. What is known as food mile? So food mile, very simple, my dear children. Distance by which a food item traveled from producer to consumer. Okay, so you can write the distance which a food item traveled distance which a food item traveled from producer to consumer is called food mile. Right. So the distance which a food item traveled from producer to consumer is called food mile, right? From producer to consumer, from field to the plate, the total distance traveled by a food item. Okay. Name two ways to shorten the food mile. Very simple, my dear children. When I was discussing about the food mile, I told you these things. I have told you these things, right? How to minimize the food mile. Very simple. Number one, growing fruits, vegetables in home garden for consumption. Okay. So growing fruits, vegetables in home garden for consumption. We can grow fruits and vegetables in our home garden, my dear children. And when you consume foods, when you consume food items which are grown in home garden, we can minimize the food mile, right? Because food is going to travel very least distance. Next one, number two, consuming local food items, right? So consuming local food items. Here local food items means, my dear children, not cheaper food items or less quality food items. Here local food item means food items which prepared within the country itself, not from outside. Okay, so consuming local food items is also going to reduce the food mile. So growing fruits and vegetables in home garden for consumption can reduce the food mile, and also by the consumption of local food items we can also reduce the food mile, right? So we have answered all the questions in the textbook, my dear children. So it's time to finish up this chapter. Within next chapter we'll discuss some extra questions related to the biosphere lesson.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.